Hey folks, Tito, Jeff Thitoff here, FanStream Sports powered by DSP Media. Make sure you check us out. Look at our free app there. For Apple and Android users, check that out. It's a free app you can have around-the-clock programming, FanStream Sports. Also, FanStreamSports.com, the website. Check us out there. Facebook page, go there, and you can listen, like, subscribe to all of our stuff. Writing great new shows all the time. Here for another edition of the Buckeye Blitz. And the Buckeyes got a game against Ohio University coming up on Saturday. Ohio State coming off that 70-0 win over Grambling State. And a couple things I wanted to talk. We'll talk about Grambling State briefly, and then more about Ohio University and what all went on this week within the program. But the Grambling State game, and I'm not sure if I said this before in the last podcast, but for me, there's a huge difference between 70-0 and 70-3. I know it's just 3 points, but the fact that the defense was able to stay focused enough to where they did not allow a single point. I mean, think about that. That's really hard to do in college football, especially when you're playing your third and fourth stringers against the other team's first and sometimes second stringers. But that just shows you the depth of Ohio State. But that's a true testament to the focus of this team. Grambling State's a team that they knew they were more talented than. We knew this was going to be a blowout game. But the fact they held them scoreless, did not have any mistakes that led to points, it was a big deal. So one of the few mistakes, Bo Jackson on his 9th carry had a fumble. He looked great in his first 8 carries. Had that fumble on his 9th carry, got an earful from Ryan Day on the sideline about it. And then Ryan Day talked about this week and just said, look, you know, in any game, really any game they have, I'm paraphrasing all this, but he said, any game we have, our opponent is ourselves. We're playing ourselves. And we need to, if we practice the right way, if we execute the right way, everything's going to be fine. Everything will be just fine in that scenario. Just, that's what we have to do. We are playing against ourselves every day in practice, every game day, playing every workout. We're going against ourselves, is what he said. And he said that quite a bit. He kind of harped on that this week about how, you know, he knew respectfully that Grambling State is not on the level of Ohio State. Breaking news there, I know. Ohio University, also not on the same level playing field as Ohio State. So we'll see if they can stay focused this week as well. Ohio University, look, they should be 2-0. They should have beat Rutgers on the road in their first game. They did beat West Virginia, coached by Rich Rodriguez now, down there in Athens this past weekend. So they should be 2-0. They're a really good MAC team. Ohio State's favored. I think they opened up at 33.5, might be 31.5 now. But nonetheless, Ohio State's biggest opponent on Saturday is themselves. And this is their last game before the bye week, and then they play at Washington. So the way the schedule played out so far, I worried about it when it first started. I hated going into the Texas game without any, you know, non-conference games. They could work on stuff. Worked out just fine, though. This couldn't be better. Ohio State wins a close game against what was then the number one team in the nation. Still a quality opponent, but they win a close game, faced adversity in that game, and then comes back in their second game and executes perfectly. Outside the fumble by Bo Jackson, the interception by Julian Sayin, that was a bad one also, but bounced back from that, okay. Nonetheless, though, a pretty damn clean game in the Grambling game as well. One of the other things that Ryan Day talked about this week was how he can utilize the game speed, how fast they play on offense. He said, he basically said it's a weapon, how the tempo we play on offense, saying that Ohio State needs to be able to, I said we there, no. Ohio State needs to be able to play fast and also play slower and also in between all that. They need to have the ability to do that because the way the game goes will dictate, or they're going to try to dictate how the game goes by that tempo. There are times they might want to take clock out, like just run the clock down, get some running plays in, and move the clock and have a clock moving constantly. Other times they want to strike quickly. But an important trait of the offense that Ohio State has, what Brian Hartline's running, what Ryan Day is the godfather of, I guess you could say. An important part of that is tempo and knowing when to play fast, knowing when to slow it down. He just said that they've got to train that way, and it's just something a way they have to be able to use that in the games. We'll see what happens as far as playing time this week. I would think ideally Ohio State would like to get out to a big lead and get a lot of guys in the game again. But they also need to make sure that they're giving Julian Sayin enough reps. Now, he played the full game at Texas, half the game against Grambling, and now he's only got until September 27th, 4 more quarters he can play. I would think they'd like to play him into the third quarter, and maybe some of the fourth. We'll see about that. Lincoln Keenholz look great, but they've got other guys that can rotate in and out across. That's the only position I think that I really need to look at and say, monitor the snap count, but also make sure he gets enough positive reps in there. I'd like to see Keenholz too. I think Keenholz is important. We all know, look, Ohio State's one snap away from Lincoln Keenholz being the quarterback. Lincoln Keenholz can play quarterback for this team. He's good enough to do it. If you still think of Lincoln Keenholz as what you saw in the Missouri game in the Cotton Bowl a few years back, get it out of your mind. It's not that anymore. A couple years back, I guess. It's not that. He was overmatched in that game. The offensive line was overmatched. It was a no-win situation. He looked horrible, but he looked about as good as he could look probably based on what he was thrown into. Lincoln Keenholz has worked his ass off. And my belief in him is born from the fact that what I've seen, but also give anybody 3 years in Ryan Day's system, and they better be better. 2.5 years, whatever it's been. I can't remember the exact how the calendar matches up. But he's been multiple years he's been under Ryan Day's tutelage. And any quarterback that sticks around that long should be pretty damn good. At least a lot better than he was the previous year or the year before that. And that's why I think Lincoln Keenholz is. I'm not expecting to see Tavion St. Clair. It'd have to be a real big blowout on that one. And to see what, Tavion St. Clair got some time in against Grambling State, which I appreciated that. And so we'll keep an eye on that situation as well. The defense, though, man, Ryan Day was asked if he's happy with the defense. And Ryan Day said he's never happy with anything. There's definitely some positives, things to work on. He said that the position coaches are the ones who break down the snaps and deliver grades, and they always look for effort more than anything else. That's the first thing they look for is effort. He also spoke about the cohesiveness of the coaching staff and how the level of trust they have with each other and how important that is because there's no egos in that room, and they all work together. They have to communicate a lot between the coordinators and then the position coaches and also to Ryan on that front. But it's amazing to me how well they work together and how well they seem aligned. And I don't want to say it's easier now for Ryan Day to be the head coach than it was a couple years ago. But now that he's got the national championship in his pocket, this is how I look at it. If I'm out in Vegas and I'm playing blackjack at a $15 a hand table and I've got $75 in chips, I'm going to play blackjack a certain way. A little conservative maybe, but it's going to have a different vibe for me. If I'm playing that same table with $700 in my pocket, $700 in chips, I might be a little looser. I might play a little more relaxed. I think Ohio State's that. I think Ryan Day is at that point. I don't think he would tell you it's easier now. I don't think he'd tell you he's having more fun now. But I certainly think he's got to be more relaxed now. National championship, knock off Texas, 2-0 start, going to be 3-0 heading into week 5 when when they go play at Washington, which will be a huge game, by the way. And I think that right there is Ohio State's got a couple of real tests this year. At Washington's one. I know look, Michigan, yes, got it. Penn State, yes. November 1st here in Columbus. But at Washington and at Illinois, those games are going to be difficult. And it's going to be a huge test for Julian Sayin. This will be his first road game when he plays at Washington. We got lots of time to talk about that. But anyway, the Ohio State, though, they did treat this game as, like I said, it's the last one they've got, the last game they've got before Washington on the road. Last chance for Julian Sayin to get some reps. That's the only one I'm really looking at as far as I think the running backs will be fine. I like what they brought in so far. I like the running game as it is. Talk about Ohio University now. They've got Parker Navarro, and he is going to present a challenge for Ohio State from the standpoint of that he's a dual threat quarterback. So Ohio State's got to be on the lookout for that. He will. I don't want to say he's better than Arch Manning, but he's a more proven. Let's put it that way. When Arch Manning came here to play, Parker Navarro is more proven when he comes here to play. Now, Manning may be a different story now. He's got a couple of games under his belt, but I'm just saying that Parker Navarro, though, is going to be a test for Ohio State's defense. I want to see how they attack him. I want to see how they contain him. Those are big things. On defense, Ohio University is going to blitz a lot. They're going to try to make Julian Sayin uncomfortable. And one of the key things about Ohio State running backs, they've got to know how to pick up the blitz. So we're watching that as well. The offensive lines will be a test for them. Just OU's not as talented as Texas' defensive line was, but Ohio State's offensive line will be tested with a very aggressive defense that the Bobcats are going to bring. So it's going to be a fun atmosphere in the stadium. And anytime you look, one of the beauties about Ohio State when they play a school like OU is there's a lot of kids on Ohio University's team that dreamed of playing for Ohio State and playing out there in the horseshoe. And this is their shot. Their one shot to get out here and do this. Wasn't too long ago, OU had a lead on Ohio State in the fourth quarter. Not too long ago. It was quite a while ago now. Maybe 12, I'm thinking. Maybe before that. Anyway, when OU had a lead on Ohio State in the fourth quarter of a game here in Columbus. But I don't expect that this time. My prediction for the game, I think it'll be like a 49-6 game. So I think Ohio State covers a big number. But Ohio State, I think, should win this game handily. They've got more talent. It'll be a fun game to watch until it's not. But even so, what I like about the Ohio State team is that once the starters go out, there's a lot of backups we know, a lot of guys we know the future of this program that we can take a lot of interest in watching. All right, folks, that's it for me, Tito. Jeff Thitoff with your Buckeye Blitz. We'll talk again after the game, and we'll recap, hopefully, a Buckeye win. And then follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter @ThatHappens. Download the free app, Fantasy Sports app for Apple and Android users. Make sure you go to the website, fantasystreetsports.com. Find us on Facebook also, and like and follow us there also. So, all right, it's a big game in college football on Saturday night for Ohio State against the Ohio University Bobcats. We'll talk again after the game. Have a great day, folks.